And they said once they go live, then you guys will see the two of us.
Yes.
And I think one other person is coming.
Okay. Is Jeremy in the council chambers?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, everybody.
Jeremy.
Thanks for
Hello.
making the meeting. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
I'm nervous. I've got stage fright. I don't like this.
Oh, Jeremy. I have to zoom in because I don't speak very well through masks, and I touch my face a million times, and it's just like, it's not great. So I zoom in when I can. All right. Well, I know Craig has a law school class right now, and Brendy was not going to be able to make the meeting. So I believe we have everyone, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. The first agenda item is to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Can you pull those up for us to see? Do you know how to do that?
I do, but I'm on my phone, so I don't know that I can do it.
I can share the minutes.
Okay.
If that's helpful. The minutes
Sure.
are the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's from, I think, March 12th was March 12th was the last meeting.
Hang on just a moment.
That was kind of before the world changed,
That's right.
sort of.
Oh,
There we
thank
go.
you. Yeah, great. Yeah, it was.
You've got your binoculars. It's a little tough to read there.
Who's the chair of the committee? I actually wasn't clear on that.
It's Terrell, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Any second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that's approved.
All right. Are there any public appearances for non-agenda items?
There's no one from the public here.
There's no one here and no one on Zoom.
Okay. So the next thing to do is to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Any second? We need a second to approve it.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
All right. Well, I will go ahead and I might turn my mic or my video off while I talk about the tree preservation ordinance just to make sure that the audio comes through pretty clear. We don't have great internet, and when it's rainy, it's even worse.
Could we do introductions of everyone first, if we wouldn't mind adding that in?
Sure.
Just since I'm new to the committee, I'd love to have everyone introduce themselves, if that's okay.
Yeah, okay, before
Sure.
we do that, can you tell me what the email is that has the agenda on it? It's not the one from the first. It's,
I emailed you. It was last week. I want to say it was probably Tuesday because I only work Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. It might have been, it was either last Tuesday or last Thursday. I think it was last Tuesday. And I emailed it to you just to make sure that you got it because on base is sometimes glitchy and
I'm forwarding it to you now, Linda.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't see it. I see an email from you on the 1st, but I don't see it in there, so, okay, thank you very much. I'm fine with it, I just like to look at it, thanks.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think Gabriella, as she suggested, maybe we could go around and say a little bit about ourselves, like how long I know we have some new people, and how long we've been on the advisory, or a little bit about our interest in being on the advisory. And I could start. I've been on this group since we started a long time ago, and I don't even know how long that's been now. So it's been a number of years, and we've gone through various, phases of kind of fading away a little bit and then getting more active. So some of it's based on funding. So, okay. Jeremy, maybe?
Hi, I'm Jeremy. I've been on the committee since 2015, when Ed Bartel was the city forester, right, Anna, or is that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I just am fascinated by urban forestry. I love the field. I love everything about it. The challenges of keeping it diverse and healthy, and providing benefits for all of the residents. And I kind of came upon the field maybe around 2009, when I started volunteering in Nobel Woods, which is just a little 4.5 acre woodlot right across from the Tri-North building. And that eventually led me into the tree advisory committee world. So here I am.
And you've done a tremendous amount of volunteer work. I think Jeremy racks up hundreds of volunteer hours every year, and we are very grateful for that.
Oh, it's very gratifying to keep the invasives at bay.
Yeah, and when we lost that forestry position, you filled in and did an awful lot of work with that as well, which was much appreciated.
Yeah, it's a fascinating field, so.
Yeah. And Linda?
So I'm Linda Brewer, and I'm on the board of directors for the Highlands of Seminole Neighborhood Association. And part of the role of the board is to care for some of the green spaces, which includes the McKee Berm area. And I had worked with Ed when I first was involved with that on the board. And then I think so, and then we continue to work on that space and other spaces in the neighborhood. And I'm very, very interested in what will make our environment healthier, remain healthier, and then all of the life support that requires great urban forestry. So that's how I started. I've probably been on here something like 4 years, something like that.
I think that sounds right, because you came on shortly after I started, and I started almost 5 years ago.
Okay.
Wow, time is flying. It seems like 2 years ago.
I know.
Okay. Maybe Anna, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself for the new people?
Sure. So I am the urban forester and naturalist for the city of Fitchburg. I started that job, it'll be 5 years this coming winter. Before that, I worked for DNR as a forest products person, and I actually worked a lot with folks in Adam's workplace at the Forest Products Laboratory. Before that, I worked for the Department of Agriculture on the Emerald Ash Borer project, and I also worked with our federal partners, USDA APHIS, which is also based on the Forest Products Laboratory. So I've been there quite a bit. And I ran the first Emerald Ash Borer survey here in Wisconsin. I designed and ran the first delimit, trying to figure out the extent of the first infestation. Prior to that, I did all the trapping and all of the trap tree surveys. Before that, I was working in Washington, D.C. for the National Park Service, and ended up moving here because my husband went to UW for grad school. Before that, I was in the Peace Corps in South America for 3 years, and before that, I was in graduate school in Montana for forestry. So anyway, so my road to Fitchburg has been kind of winding, but I appreciate working with all of you, and it's definitely a bright spot in my job.
Wonderful. I learned a lot about you. Okay. Gabriella.
Hi, I'm Gabriella Gerhardt. I am the new Alder representative for the committee, and I was elected in April of 2020 for District 2, and Tree Advisory was one of the committees I was hoping to get appointed to, so I'm very excited to be here. I have, my background's in geology, although I don't currently work in the field, but I appreciate that background. I'm excited to kind of use some of those areas of knowledge in my role as an alder. And climate change is an issue that I've really focused on in the campaign, and I'm looking to focus on going forward. And I'm also on the Resource Conservation Commission, where we talk a lot about stormwater. And I've had a conversation with Anna about, the importance of trees and forestry to stormwater management. And so that's something I definitely want to hopefully have conversations with here on this committee. And overall, just excited to be a part of it. So thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you. We
Yeah,
truly
welcome.
are.
Yes.
And we have, let's see, Christopher.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes.
My name is Adam Sonalik. It says Christopher, but I usually go by my middle name, Adam.
Okay.
I've already been told, I'm with the Forest Products Lab. The main reason why I wanted to become involved was I've moved up here from Champaign, Illinois, and I would like to be involved in my community. And this fell right in line with my knowledge, training, and experience. So I felt that this was a good way to start becoming involved in a positive way within the community. And it sounds like you already have a lot of connections to the Forest Products Lab and a lot of history with the DNRs. So it's a well-connected group. It's good to be a part of it.
Awesome. Great to have you. Thank you for being on the committee.
Yes, wonderful. Welcome. And then we have Chad.
That's me.
Oh, that's you. Oh, okay. I was like, so who's missing is Craig then, right?
Yes, Craig is missing. He is in law school and has class now. And I would suggest if he has class that interferes with our meeting in October, that we change our meeting, because a big bulk of what we have to talk about is the tree preservation ordinance. And since he's leading that, it potentially would make sense for us to move our schedule around his, if we can. But that's a discussion we can have maybe once we've touched base with him.
Okay.
But yes, Craig is missing and Brendy is missing.
Oh, that's right, Brendy too. Okay. So both of them are pretty new to the group as well, so, okay. So the next items are yours, Anna, the tree protection ordinance.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna go just off of video so it's potentially clearer, but like I said, my internet leaves something to be desired, especially when it's raining. So if you have any questions or clarifications, please don't hesitate to, stop me and ask for clarification. Basically, as I had mentioned, Craig Rapp, who is I think a year or two, he's been on the committee for a year or two, and he does work at Epic, but he's also going to law school. And as you know, some of you who've been on the committee a long time know, one of the charges of this committee and the reason it was started was to craft a tree protection ordinance for the city. And for a variety of reasons, we did not get traction with that until recently. And Craig decided to take on, trying to get something going. So he met with Valerie, who is the city attorney, and he just, was kind of batting ideas around with her. And basically he said, after his talk with her, that, it's unlikely that we'll be able to get anything that would regulate private property tree management in terms of what people are doing on their own property. We really should focus an ordinance on targeting large developments, and it would likely have to look forward. We couldn't really get anything passed that would look retroactively at some of the things that are already happening. And once we kind of decide what we want to do, and Craig did have a few sample ordinances that I'll have him talk more specifically about some language that he was interested in potentially copying from other places. But once that language kind of gets a little bit more solidified, he said the next step would be to talk to the city administrator and the mayor with sort of a quote unquote sales pitch and kind of, you know, talk things over with them and let them know kind of what the goals and the objectives of a tree protection ordinance would be. And probably the way to go, which I think is right on, is to tie the new ordinance to subdivision improvement agreements. And that's where we can really have teeth. Like, in order to get occupancy, developments would have to follow this ordinance of, you know, whatever it is. And I think it really could be a very powerful tool to try and maintain some of our tree canopy on the landscape. And so the next steps would be to form a subcommittee of tree advisory to kind of take this on, craft the language, and move it forward, and eventually get it to council, and you know, and get it, you know, approved and into use, I guess you could say. So, and the first step, of course, would be forming that subcommittee, and then having that subcommittee meet with Valerie and keep kind of making things move forward. So I guess, that being said, does anyone have any kind of questions about, you know, sort of the goals and objectives of a tree protection ordinance? We've kind of talked about this for so long. I feel like, you know, everyone kind of knows where we're at, but there are several new committee members, and I'm not sure if you need a little bit more background or kind of what would be the most helpful in this discussion.
I have a question.
Sure.
So as I understand it, this protects new private development, correct?
That's what I think that we would end up targeting, yes.
Okay. Is there any way we can also target projects that the city is doing? Or, I mean, how do we do that? I mean, I was just thinking about the frustration with the plans for Fish Hatchery Road, and how when all the plans got done, you know, there was not enough room to plant very many trees, and we were actually planting lots more trees than we were maintaining or planting.
Right.
How do we prevent that from happening?
I think, Linda, that's a really good question. And I think, you know, I think the ordinance would have to be written broad enough that it would apply to new development, not just housing development, but road projects as well.
Public and
yeah.
private. Yes. Okay. I would really like that.
Right. No, that's a good point, because we're constantly redoing roads, and and we've had this discussion, and I don't mean to rehash it, but it seems like, and this is happening right now, where we say, okay, great, we're going to put trees in this specific area, and then 25 years later, or 10 years later, or 15 years later, we take them out and fix the road, and then, oh, whoops, okay, had to take those trees out, and we just start over, and it's like a treadmill. We never really get the canopy because we never let the trees grow, because we're constantly changing the road. So yeah, that's
Experience
good
was
point.
that there are all these other interest groups and offices that come first, and at the very bottom was the trees. That was my experience with the Fish Hatchery project. That was very frustrating to me. Even the Bicycle Coalition came before trees. So
Yep.
Okay. Gabriella?
Yeah, you're right.
So I think part of the solution for going forward is, you know, since I'm part of the committee, I'm the Alder representative, I'm at all these meetings, and my hope is that I can identify those types of things that ideally could have some tree advisory committee input, and I can refer them to tree advisory. The one complication with that is if we're only meeting 4 times a year, sometimes the timing of projects doesn't coincide with our meetings. So I think maybe we should also look at whether or not we want to meet more frequently, at least at this period of time when we are dealing with the tree ordinance, which is a pretty important policy for the city moving forward. So I think part of that solution is me just being, being an advocate and making sure that we, that things get sent to tree advisory when it's appropriate. And then I think we can add to future agendas. It's something I do for Resource Conservation Commission. I do a council update. So I just kind of give some information
Nice.
about things we've been working on in council that are related to the committee. So I think that if we can add that to future agenda, I think that would be great. And then I can prepare something so that we have, you guys are all up to date.
That would be helpful. We've never really been able to have that before. I just feel like so when this council started, when tree advisory started, it did not have a council representative. It was an ad hoc committee, and it was designed just to make the tree protection ordinance and to do the 5-year urban forestry management plan, and that was it. That's the reason that the whole committee started. And then I was very fortunate that I was able to kind of work through Mayor Arnold, and we got it so quote unquote legalized, where we got a council representative and one more member, so that we were not ad hoc, we were a standing committee. So so now it's possible to get stuff referred to us. We just haven't really done that because we haven't really been in the mix. And you're right, when you only meet 4 times a year, you miss a lot of opportunity to comment on things. So that would be great. Okay. All right, so I guess,
Quickly.
what was that?
If I could just add something quickly too, I think we should consider meeting, since this is the second meeting this year, if I'm not mistaken, because of the cancellations due to the pandemic. So I think perhaps we should consider meeting in both October and November and get some work done on this tree ordinance before the end of the year, since we have those meetings in the budget.
Yeah, I agree. More meetings for sure. I just don't know what the ideal frequency would be. I mean, I think, did we have, when Ed was, weren't we meeting once a month? Or, 8 times a year?
Yeah, initially we were meeting 8 times a year, and then our budget was cut, and then we reduced it because of that. So a lot of it depends on Anna and her time, and what can be accomplished if we come up with ideas of work to be done, but she doesn't have the time to do it or implement or work, then, there's no point dreaming up ideas. And we lost the position of, what was the intern who did some work as well. So that has impacted things quite a bit. So we need an advocate on the budget to get us a little bit more money. Kind of back to where we were, would just, at this point, be good progress.
Yep, I'm going to be looking into that. So definitely feel free to, I really would love to, meet with each of you as well, to kind of get a better sense of you, get to know you. So yeah, I think we should look at that for next year. But since we have 2 more meetings this year, I think we should take advantage of that.
Yep.
Since there's been a delay.
Yeah, and I think we can make that happen. Moving forward, the reason, like Terrell said, the reason we only had 4 meetings a year is because the person who did all the minutes and did all the on-base stuff, that position was eliminated, so then it fell to me, which isn't a big deal. But when you only have 24 hours a week, getting all that stuff together, that takes about 6-7 hours sometimes, and it does definitely impact other things. So just something to consider. So at any rate, so I guess just to wrap up this agenda item, are there folks on the on the call now that would like to be part of the subcommittee to work on the tree protection ordinance?
How many people do you want on it?
That's a really good question. I think we had 3 people that worked on the comp plan, and that seemed about right, and that was successful. So I wonder if Craig and 2 other people would be good, or, what are you guys thinking?
In my experience, 3 people are usually a good to set out ideas and set a focus.
Yes.
When you're trying to get something through, the more people you have at the initial stage, I think that's to the detriment of the project, actually. So 3 sounds like a perfect amount to me.
Yeah.
And Craig would be 1, so we would need 2 more folks. And you don't have to tell me now. If you want to email me or something, and then I can, it's fine. But unless someone wants to volunteer right away.
No, I was just going to say, I will do whatever's best for the success of getting it through, or the need. I just want whoever's best skilled on there. I'll help in any way I can.
Okay. Okay. So I guess if you want to, think about it, if you want to be on the committee, just let me know, and and we'll work with Craig and get that committee formed, and kind of go from there. I know. Well, I guess I shouldn't say this, but City Hall is closed, obviously, and I don't know if Valerie is working from home. I mean, I know she's really busy, but she's so nice, and I'm sure she'd make time to talk to us this fall. But I know we'd have to get on her dance card, so to speak, because she is super busy. But at any rate, that's something that Craig and I can talk about.
And,
All right,
and
so
the tree preservation sheet that you gave us, the last time we met, the Dublin, Ohio, is that still something that's valid or just an idea?
that was the ordinance Craig liked the best and thought it had the most points that were worth, trying to implement in Fitchburg. There were some good things in there. I think that we have a little bit of a different situation in that particular ordinance did not specifically address development, and it did address private tree issues quite a bit. So it may or may not be a good fit. If you look at a lot of tree preservation ordinances, they're somewhat dated, and a lot of them are not really, don't really reflect the reality of what's going on now with arboriculture in terms of pests and diseases, and also the ability to preserve trees. So I don't know. I mean, that was something that Craig had, he was gracious enough to find that. And I guess that's something the subcommittee can talk about. I don't want to comment too much, because I don't want to, lead people in one direction or another. But that was one thing that he thought was great. Whether or not it would, it sounds like it's a good starting point. Whether or not our ordinance would end up looking like that, I think remains to be seen.
Okay.
Anna, you're muted if you're still trying to talk.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
no.
So we don't have, do we have a final document in place that we want an ordinance to enforce? I mean, you wrote something up last year, right? Anna, did you?
Yes, I did write something up last year with some bullet points that I thought we should consider.
Yeah.
But the big thing is, enforcement is obviously an issue. But I do like the idea of having things tied to the developer agreement or the developer improvement agreement, because it is part of my job to walk those areas with developers, figure out in theory what's going to stay and what's going to go tree wise. But I have no power to make them actually do what they say they're going to do. And there's been multiple examples where there's a tree I think is going to get saved, and then it ends up being taken down.
Right.
And there's nothing I can do about it.
Right. So the committee you're on the committee. Obviously.
I could be. I don't know if I am in the best position to push this or not, because often, if staff tries to mess with ordinances, people think we have an agenda or it's just met with a lot of suspicion. So I think it probably would be best if I'm just very supportive from the sidelines, and it's actually residents who are saying, hey, we'd like to see this happen. Because if I say something, it's kind of like my son coming to me and asking for more Legos. Like, they don't really take it. I'm not really taken seriously when I talk about the need to do different things with trees, because they just think, oh yeah, that's her agenda. That's what, of course she's a tree person, she's going to say that. They don't really think bigger picture than that. But if someone else says it, it has more impact.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anna, do you ever foresee having more out? The enforcement thing is a big hurdle, and do you foresee more money for more help ever, or?
That's a really good question, Jeremy. Since I've been here, the budget's done nothing but go down. So I don't know. And the last budget cycle, Scott and I looked at each other and we're like, we dare not ask for anything, because if we stick our necks out, it's just gonna get chopped off. So I truly do not know. I have no way to predict that. I have no control over it. I have no influence on it. I just don't know.
Has the purchasing budget still standing at like that 50% or a huge cut?
We did, so it was, I think 2 years ago, we had a 55% cut. And then the mayor's changed and we got some of that money reinstated. The current mayor did put money in the budget specifically for tree replacement, specifically ash replacement, which is great. So we haven't been able to catch up quite yet on replacing ash trees. But we will hopefully be able to. The sad part about that was when the treatment budget was cut, we lost an entire treatment season, and all those trees, there's no going back in time and treating them. So we've taken them all down, and we probably have about 130 work orders out there to take down ash trees. I think we can get those replaced this spring, but it's hard to say. I couldn't say for sure. So I don't know. So we got some of it back. We never got that position back. That was a big blow. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
All right. Thank you.
And like I said, I have no control of it and no influence on it. So there's not much I can really even say about it. So anyway.
The plan sounds like a good one moving forward for new development and new projects with the city. You can get an ordinance.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so I guess we'll leave it at email me if you'd like to be in the committee, and we'll keep things moving forward. And like I said, Craig is great, and this is great. I'm really appreciative that we're finally kind of getting some traction with this. So, should we move on to the next agenda item?
Sure.
Okay. So canopy goals. One really positive thing, and I'm super grateful for this as well, is that, we did have a subcommittee to work on the comp plan, and everything that we proposed made it into the comp plan, which is great. Our tree canopy definition is in there. The tree canopy goal is in there. A tree preservation ordinance is in there, so that is helpful. And a diversity plan is in there. So that's great. Like, that's really, I feel super good about that. So even though we really weren't able to get over that hurdle of a 5-year plan, we were able to get stuff in the comp plan. So we've really got the same teeth, so to speak, on getting things accomplished as we would have if we had like sketched everything out in that 5-year plan. So I think I'm super grateful for everyone who worked on that. I'm super grateful that was successful. If you're interested to look at it, it's in the section 3B, Resources, Energy, and Communications, which starts on page 81 of the comp plan. And the tree preservation ordinance is on page 3B 13. And so we should have really good backing to get a tree preservation ordinance done. And also to kind of start thinking about our canopy goals. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is, we had talked about trying to get to be a tree city of the world. And we're pretty close, but there are some things on there we would need more staff to accomplish. So instead of really trying to go for that, I wonder if we couldn't try and talk a little bit about tree diversity. And we've talked in the past about how we need diversity, not just from a species / genera standpoint, but also from a planting location standpoint and an age class standpoint. And as we know right now, throughout the city, it doesn't take much, observation skills to look around and see all of the ash trees that are dying, both public and private. And for whatever reason, a lot of those trees on private land are getting replaced with maples, with Freeman maples. And I'm not sure, I don't know. I think people like that red color. They recognize the leaf, and they are very fast growing, and they're very forgiving of, poor sites. So I think that's why people are selecting them. But unfortunately, as we all know, our next big pest we're going to be thinking about dealing with is the Asian longhorn beetle, and that has a feeding preference for maple trees. So I wonder if somehow through this committee we can try and do a little bit of outreach to private landowners, because, even if, just about tree diversity and how when you're replacing that ash tree, you may want to think about some species that maybe that you don't see every day, or maybe that's, a little bit off of what you think about when you think about a tree for whatever reason. So I'm just wondering if there's anyone on this committee who'd be willing to kind of come up with a nice diversity message that we could get out through, social media, or I would say the city website, but I'm not sure that's that great of a vehicle, but just to kind of try and disseminate a message of diversity and planting specifically geared toward the private landowner that's replacing an ash tree. There's a lot of literature out there on this topic, but it's a little bit general, and we could get a little bit more Fitchburg specific if we wanted to. And it'd be nice to have this somewhat polished up by spring when people are really thinking about planting trees again. So it's one of the things I thought about, and it goes right with the comp plan. Like if we do have this 30% canopy goal that's in the comp plan, well, most of the trees in the city are privately owned. And so we do want to have this diversity message along with our tree canopy goal message. So I don't know if there's anyone on the committee that wants to kind of tackle this a little bit and kind of come up with a plan on how we can try and really get something in this arena accomplished. I know Jeremy's done an awful lot of work with the Fitchburg Star, which is great. And I don't know if we kind of want to go that route, or how people are feeling, or if you don't even want to try and address it, or kind of what the thought is.
Has there been any work with the DNR and forest species inventory within Fitchburg?
We do not. So with the FIA data, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
I don't think they have any collection sites in Fitchburg. That's a good question. I don't know that they do. I don't think that they do. But we do work with DNR. I just helped them with a diversity survey, just to kind of get a feel for what things are happening on the municipal side of things and what we're planting in the terraces. But that doesn't really translate to the private landowner and what they're doing. We do have different examples around town of a variety of different tree species that aren't typically thought of as street trees that, we've planted in terraces. We could highlight some of that, for example, or I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to skin the cat. But so long story longer, we do work with DNR. I'm not sure if they're doing the FIA stuff in Fitchburg or not.
Does anybody
I'd be
know
trying
how
to
much?
deal with this one sounds relatively like a good idea in order to try to foster the diversity. I don't mind trying being involved in that one. I don't know necessarily if you want one person involved or multiple people involved, but if there's a task group, I'd certainly be involved with it. And what I would probably, my first focus would be to contact DNR, see if there's any preferred type of trees for this region that maybe that are underrepresented in the population here, so that in order to make a healthy biome. But and then another thing to do would, in order to diversify, so that we're not doing all maples, see if there's other trees that have nice fall coverage, fall color that would potentially be a species that other than maple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And we do try to plant, let's say Katsura trees, for example. They have a beautiful kind of purpley red color in the fall. And we do try to plant a lot of those to show people, hey, you can get that color with other species. But yeah, I mean, that all sounds great. And there, it's, definitely something worth pursuing. So is anyone besides Adam interested in working with this? And this is something I think I'm happy to really, help really spearhead a little bit.
Well, I was
if you'd like.
the neighborhood associations, like in ours, technically, when people replace a tree, they're supposed to approve the ACC, Architectural Control Committee, and that's like 350 some homeowners. So I would expect that other neighborhood associations, some of them have that same kind of thing. And so that's one way of getting messaging out. And then I was thinking about the library as well. But I can help on those kinds of things. I would be willing.
Awesome.
Yeah, you don't have a document already, I'm sure. You have it in your head.
Well, I've got tree lists, but that doesn't really do it. Right. I've got these tree lists, but you know, people don't really, and of course Acer is right in the front, you know, and so I actually took the Acer out, and then people will call me like, hey, I'm seeing maple trees on this. I'm like, yeah, it's because I took them out. But so at any rate, it's a battle. But I would say every single person that's called me about replacing their ash tree, except for one, has asked for maple. Every single person. And I've said, hey, you know, I really, you know, I try to explain the whole diversity thing, and some people get pretty upset, and they're like, well, I'm calling the mayor. I'm like, well, be my guest. You know, that doesn't really scare me. But yeah, so
React like
I
that,
just,
but, yeah.
I
yeah,
have,
what do you do?
It could also
So
be
at any rate,
I was just saying, part of that could also be people are, yeah, you know, they see maple, they see color, and if you bring up the issue of, you know, there's a lot of maples, and the more maples we have in a more confined area, if something sweeps in here, it's going to be feeding city, and that's
Right.
the major thing. Is it's fine as long as nothing ever comes through here, and if something comes through here and it's a 20-year-old tree, you're going to lose a 20-year-old tree. Whereas, you know, if we plant something else that, you know, low junk, as a lot of people don't want a junky tree most of the time, but high color that's other than maple, would probably have a better chance of survival.
my
right.
idea is
Yes.
is to come up with something visual. In other words, like, does anybody know how much attention Fact TV gets? I was thinking of maybe trying to talk you into doing some type of I don't know. I mean, we could make use of the Arboretum or just street trees in Fitchburg of, you know, showing people. Is that something that might be feasible this year or not? Or is that a good idea? Or
Sure. I mean, we could do it, sure. I mean, that'd be fine. I mean, if FAC has time, I would be happy to run around town and talk about different tree species that we've planted that are, you know, just to increase our diversity. We started planting, I mean, there's probably 8 or 9 species that I started planting in 2016, 17 that we didn't have before, and some of them are doing awesome. So yeah, I mean, that would be fine with me. I wouldn't mind doing that. I think it'd be honestly kind of a lot of fun. And I think that would, and you're right, I think something visual is maybe what people need. But like, because my little tree list is not really doing it. And the information that's out there is just not, I mean, it's just not in a way people are willing to digest it for whatever reason.
And it could, if we had a video also, it could be something that we put on the city website. So when people, you know, put in trees or look for tree lists that are recommended, we could have, you know, a tree list as well as a video about tree diversity and reasons to select certain kinds of trees to replace, you know, not just ashes, but now, you know, this weekend between my 2 neighbors and myself, I cut down 7 trees, you know. One was a pine and, you know, a bunch of spruces and then an ash, you know, they're all getting diseases and they're dying. And so, you know, I haven't figured out if I'm going to replace things or not. So, but I'm not the only person doing this. So other people are, you know, out there thinking about it too, I'm sure.
And we
No,
have
you bring up a good point.
We have a neighborhood website too, and we would happily post video on that. And then I was also wondering about the library, if they would be willing to send something out. There's a green organization of some kind who does a lot of work with the library as a platform for getting out information. So that's another thing. Actually, I know somebody who's involved in that. So I don't know if you want to do a video or not, Anna.
Yeah, I mean, I could. I don't have a ton of time, so
Right.
it would take somebody else kind of doing some legwork to get it going. But I could do the talking, no problem, you know, and I know where all the trees are, obviously, that I've been planting. So that, you know, that part, it would be pretty easy for me. But just in terms of like setting the whole thing up, that's kind of where, if someone else could do that, that would be fabulous.
You mean setting up the filming or setting up the platform for people to access it?
I think setting up the filming, and so getting stuff on the city website, I'm sure we could probably figure it out. It just might take a little time. I guess I'm not an expert at any of that, so I can't really speak to that specifically, but it would just take legwork, I think.
And
I
the
could-
website's a little hard to find things on. Oh, I
Oh
have
my gosh, it's awful. Yeah.
include it there, but I'd like to see it on other sites that might be more usable for homeowners, depending on what neighborhood they're in.
Yeah.
Or the library, because they know how to do that, I'm sure.
Or else, the other thing would be, and I would definitely love to help with this, just some type of a PowerPoint presentation, or I don't know, whatever software.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Just a lot of pictures
Right.
of trees, just of local trees, just pictures and more pictures, and just bombard people with pictures of leaves and bark and form and
Yeah, that's a good
winter.
idea.
Just try and get people's minds off of, the pretty mapley track that they're on. And maybe it would be easier to and we would have more time to put together something for next spring, and it would just be, here are 30 tree species that are available at local nurseries that you should consider planting, and we could try and get some publicity for the event.
Yeah.
Would that be easier than I don't know, fact
That's a
TV?
good idea. I mean, I think that's a great idea, and then we could kind of morph it into other things.
Yes. But
You
start
know-
with an event and then, yeah.
It may work very well. Some people don't really have a good concept of size and canopy size as well.
It's true.
And site relative to house. I remember this one case I was in involving there was a image that I thought was really neat. A branch had come down and hit somebody's house, and they were showing this image of standard sized person, standard sized child next to that person, standing with a silhouette of a 1-story house, and then they had silhouettes of different trees in front of that house next to that person. And you could see that basically the size of that tree relative to a 1-story house. We could even do a 2-story as well. But then also, potential size that the tree would get, the canopy size that they would get, and this relative size to your, standard person. Give them more information visually of saying, yeah, that's the type of tree I want in my yard. And then maybe next to it say, how much, what colors it doesn't fall, and, what it drops and that sort of thing. Something that you could, in a moment, download and just, in a few moments say, oh, well, actually this spruce tree or this, this white pine is what I'm actually looking for.
Yeah, those are all great ideas.
I think I'll see if I have a friend that has a bunch of those silhouettes already done up. If he does, I'll let
Awesome.
you know. If he does, because that would be really useful, I think.
I agree. Yes.
So as we're talking about some subcommittee work, does everybody I wonder if we want everybody to want to have each other's phone numbers, and we know we can get emails from the mailings we get, but,
The phone numbers are actually all on the website, under the,
in the city, under the,
if you go to the government tab at the top and then go to complete list of boards and commissions,
okay.
you can select tree advisory, and everyone's phone number should be on there. Although it'd be worthwhile to check that your phone number is correct.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
thank you.
good.
So should we tentatively go with something like in February or March, pick some type of tree diversity
Yeah. I'd
presentation?
say earlier date would be better, because it takes, if people are gonna order them.
Yeah, I think that might be, and earlier the better. Just basically, we'd sort of want it out midwinter, I think, or early winter.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. So from here, why don't we, it sounds like Adam and Jeremy and Linda are interested in working on this, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
Do you, what I can do, is I will just kind of send an email out to say like, hey, tree diversity subcommittee, let's, have kind of I'll get some bullets together on different ideas that we've talked about here and just kind of see who can start tackling different things or exploring different things, and kind of going from there. I mean, does that sound like a good way to move forward?
Yeah, I think so.
And I'll go out
Okay.
I'll go out this fall and try and get pictures just with my camera of, interesting trees, ginkgos and Kentucky coffee trees, and I mean, we're gonna need pictures, right?
Probably.
Exactly. No, that'd be awesome, Jeremy. And Katsura I think they're beautiful in the fall, the kind of that purpley red color.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
What is it? What tree?
Katsura, Katsura. I planted some in Mickelson Parkway. There's some in Corey Vista. There's some in, I planted a few in Swan Creek as ash replacements. They're doing okay. And then there's some, like the Longford Terrace, like that. I never know what that neighborhood is called, like in that area. And then I planted some on Richardson Street. Anyway, I can definitely point them out. I don't know, I think they're beautiful, and that's just one example. Anyway, there's a whole lot of different ones that we've been planting. Lacey Road also has a fair number of Katsura trees now that I think about it. And both Mickelson Parkway and Lacey Road now have a pretty decent diversity. And if you're looking for different kinds of trees, those are two good places to find them, because we did really kind of go all out on different tree species in both those projects. But
Yeah.
at any rate,
We've been working with an arborist on the McKee Road one between Longford Terrace, the berm between Longford Terrace and Chapel Valley Road. The only thing is that the ones chosen there also have to be highly resistant to salt. So other
yes.
might not be, but they're very diverse.
Right. No, that's great. And you bring up a good point, Linda, that we're really limited in the urban planting area by salt is one big constraint. And people don't necessarily see that, but we lose more trees to salt and lawnmowers, but salt to almost anything else. But yeah, lawnmowers is a big one. But at any rate, all right, perfect. That's how we'll kind of move forward, I think. And I think there's a lot of good ideas out there, and there's probably more material out there than I realize. I haven't looked for tree diversity materials for a while. There may be newer stuff out there that I'm not aware of, so it might be worth looking on the internet just to see what, the Arbor Day Foundation and other organizations, the Morton Arboretum and things like that, kind of what information they may or may not have out there that we could kind of emulate. But we can talk about that more specifically. All right.
When something, Linda and Jeremy, when you or further maybe have something prepared, I think that the city has a full page in the Fitchburg Star every month. So when we have some sort of resource, we can start advertising that in the city section of the Fitchburg website. And then I honestly think that if the members of the committee want to write letters to the editor of the Fitchburg Star, or if we want to pitch a longer form article, that's something we can also do to kind of bring awareness to the issue.
Well, that's a good idea, because they never get letters to the editor, do they?
Yeah, I think they almost always run the ones that are sent in. So if someone even wanted to send one in for October, November, I think, why not?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Jeremy has done a great job of writing a variety of articles for the Fitchburg Star, which is great.
Right, that's right. I know. Thank you.
I hope they make sense when you read them.
All your work makes sense. All the things you share, you do for.
Oh, well, I usually submit twice as much as I'm supposed to submit, and then everything gets chopped up. Yeah, those are just opinion columns, and they want, I don't know. I could try and do a diversity opinion column sometime. I'm doing one in October about, our problem with oak regeneration.
With what?
We talked about it at the last meeting, Anna, about, the fact that we've got all these old oaks that are, and we don't have anything there aren't any young ones anywhere.
Yes, that is a huge issue, and I'm so grateful you're willing to tackle it.
Right.
But I can
Because
do,
people don't realize that.
Right.
They see the older trees and they think we're great, and it's like, well, you know what? We have nothing to replace these if something happens, and that's the age diversity that I really think we need to talk about with our diversity comment. You know, it's not just species and genera, it's also age diversity and planting space diversity. And with oaks in particular, their age class of oaks we just don't have because we wipe them out. I mean, we have a lot of those 30 to 60-year-old oaks that just get removed, and that's where a tree preservation ordinance would be helpful. But everyone focuses on those really big old trees, which is great, and they have a lot of reverence, and I can understand that. But when they're gone, there's nothing coming up behind them. So I think that's awesome,
Yeah.
Jeremy. That's
The other value
awesome.
I'm
So,
thinking
thank you for
about
doing
is
that.
that is the resistance that you've gotten at times when we need to get rid of the invasive species so that the desirable trees can grow.
Yep, that's another big issue. I mean, that's the biggest threat right there is invasive brush, and you address that issue, and people go berserk,
Because
just
it's green,
crazy.
they want to keep it.
But-
right? Yeah.
And it's their screen, and it's just
We need to
Yep.
change the culture.
So right, yeah. So at any rate, yes. So thank you very much, Jeremy, for addressing that. I can't wait to read your article.
oh, you're welcome. It's,
That does.
go ahead.
Oh no, I would say go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm finished.
Okay. I was going to say that does kind of bring us to our next agenda item if folks are kind of ready to move on. Okay.
Yep.
So as we have experienced this past Earth Day, we had all kinds of things planned. We were all set. And we ended up having to cancel everything, which was probably more work than actually doing it. But the only thing that we actually did move forward with was a socially distant tree planting in Oak Meadow, which I think was okay, but it was a fair bit of legwork to get it together, and it really, I felt like, you know, I mean, the trees got planted, and that was great. I think people did enjoy having something to do at that point in time, and I think they felt really good about planting those trees. But I wonder if this coming Earth Day, this, you know, kind of April timeframe, I don't know that we're gonna be out of the public health situation that we're in now. I have a feeling we won't be. And, but the bigger thing is, like, I start planning Earth Day in January, February. I get everything set. I come to you all with, hey, these are the potential projects. Let's just, you know, polish it up. We do that in March, and then in April, we kind of move forward. I can't see by this February us knowing exactly what's going to happen, you know, by March or April. So I wonder if we need to kind of have a different sort of a take on this Arbor Day, Earth Day, and maybe it's the diversity message. Maybe that's what we do instead of having these community tree plantings. You know, we just put that off for another year, and we just go ahead and have more, you know, have more of an educational situation. I don't know how people feel about that. I mean, I kind of hate to, you know, forego community tree plantings, but when people can't interact, it's very anticlimactical, and you know, the experience just isn't the same. You know, you don't have the food there, you don't have people talking to each other. It's, you know, it's kind of odd. So so I don't know. I mean, and we don't have to make any decisions now, obviously. I just bring it up because if we are going to do something, and maybe the diversity message is it, we probably should start thinking about that earlier than later, because like I said, we usually start the planning in January/February for this, and if we're gonna do something different, we might need to start even earlier than that. So that's why I bring it up. And I don't know if folks have any kind of opinion on that, or if, you know, if you want, I can run through what was originally on the docket for this coming spring in 2021 if you want. I don't know. I don't know how people feel about it.
I mean, I wouldn't mind hearing, you know, the diversity message we could do one way or another. If it may be worthwhile to try to think of something that we could, all, you know, you could have a shared experience, but, you know, distant from each other. That might be, you know, just sort of brainstorm. That might be that might be a better way of going about it. I mean, not better way, but a way of going about it that we can, you know, move forward on it. It like you said, it's not, it is a it is a shame to miss out on that, but maybe there's a way that we can, work around it. But that's just me talking.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea. I just am not 100% sure what to do. It's like, because what we were originally going to do was do a tree planting in Chicory Meadows, a tree planting to finish the tree plant, well, sort of finish, continue the work we've been doing in Corey Hill, which is planting along the path and along the fence line, and do a Corey Vista kind of tree shrub installation, and do something in another kind of celebration of diversity and native plants in Oak Meadow. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I bring it up more food for thought at this point than anything else, because it would be nice to have everyone kind of noodling it around a little bit, because I don't know what to do. Like I was telling Gabriella earlier, the Oak Meadow experience, it was fine, but the amount of legwork it takes to set something like that up and the results that we get, I'm not sure it's worth it. We might as well just pay a contractor to put the trees in the ground, because that's really all that happens. I mean, people come and plant the tree and leave, and there is none of that community building, celebration of trees going on, because people can't interact. So, and we can't have food, and we can't have a speaker, and we can't do any of that stuff. So, I guess I don't really know what the answer is.
Well,
But-
I just have a couple thoughts going through my head, and I don't know if this matches or not. I mean, one would be if there is a place that has a good example of tree diversity, could have a walking tour, but it has to be long enough for people to, put it on their schedule and get there. And I don't know if that would, and I think we should think about the COVID safety measures probably still being in place. So that's one thought. And then the other thought in terms of an educational piece is just basic care for new trees, and then maybe pruning. And I've wondered about that as well, for the purpose of tree growth and maintenance.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. And maybe that's videos again, or I'm not sure what that looks like, but I think those would be great messages to kind of get out, and would be pretty impactful.
I have an idea. It was this might be a little off the wall. We, and it might initially seem to be counterintuitive to our message, but there's what if are there any trees on public lands or anything that would need to be removed and replaced, especially something potentially large? When we had a tree removed on our property, we had an 80-foot tree that had to be removed. It was, rotten out and falling. And everyone came to see this thing, being taken down. And then within a day or so, we had another tree put in there. But it could have a situation where you have the whole message of, we do this for public safety. We're also, making sure that these trees are healthy and safe for the public, and then we can replace them. It makes rooms for new and healthy trees. Because people, I say, like a show, something they don't see all the time, especially if it is something that is, we can demonstrate that the tree was rotten or tree needed to be removed, and that sort of thing. But again, I understand that it may be counter to our message, but it is healthy, safe trees is, I think, something that, in an urban environment, it's very important.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad way to go. I can't think of anywhere we could do that, because we were pretty, as soon as a tree is kind of creating a problem, we usually take it down pretty quickly. But there might be an ash tree that we could do that with. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely worth considering. I kind of like that idea.
How many
Because
people?
the guys that we had, since it was so, in this particular case, since it was so tall, they had to they had to get special equipment out there, and, essentially they had to disassemble this tree step by step, and then, putting a new tree in where it was, it created a very beautiful spot for a new tree, which happened to be a maple. But
Yeah, we can definitely look into that. This is why we're starting this discussion now, so that like if we do have a tree, that fits this bill, I could save it, so to speak, and not, to have it for um, for this purpose. What I'll do is I'll kind of look through work orders and see if there's anything. There's a few that stick on my mind that might work for this, and we'll see if there's anything we can kind of save for this purpose, and kind of go from there. There might be some potential. There's some ash trees in public parks. One I think in Country Vineyard. I'm not sure if we've removed it yet or not. That might work out well in Country Vineyard Park. There's another one in. There's a couple in Tower Hill that might fit this bill. Tower Hill Park, and there's lots of space in both those parks in theory. That might. That might be worth, that people might want to come out and see taken down. And we would use the bucket truck to get them down piece by piece for the most part, and then get them replaced. So that's not a bad idea. It's good we're talking about this now, because I don't think that we've done that work yet, as far as I can tell.
And honestly, the more, I know this sounds bad, but the more ratty it looks, the more obvious it is that a tree needs to be removed, probably the better. A lot of people were like, why are you removing that tree? And we were like, well, because it's completely rotten on the inside. And even though it has green leaves, it's going to fall on our house and the neighbor's house as well. But in this case, as long as it looked like it was like, oh, that tree looks like it's on its last, stump. That'd be a good time to do it.
Right. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Well, it's worth pursuing for sure.
Yeah, I think it's very creative. And you're right, it's definitely something that people want to see and definitely bring people out. It's too bad we're dealing with physical distancing right now, because you could build kind of a creative program around it, tree education, have scout troops come out and work on a badge, and but that might be for 2022.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. In Corey Hill, we usually have the scouts come out and do their badge, and I don't think we can do that. And it's really, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, a lot of troops have been transitioning to online, but yeah, it's just it's not the same. So.
No, not at all.
What do you typically do with the wood once you take it down?
So there's a couple of different options. We have worked with the wood cycle. We have worked with Paul Morrison. He's just straight down Fish Hatchery Road in Oregon. Some people aren't that wild about us, moving wood outside the city. So we have sold some, depending on what it was. We have given some to the neighboring landowner. We do have it at the yard, and I think I think people can come and get it. Residents, if they call, I think they can come and get it, but I'm not 100% sure on how that's working. But we do have a pretty huge need for mulch, and so we do have a grinder come in and grind what's left into mulch a couple of times a year, and that some of that gets put in the bunker for residents, and then some of that gets used for a variety of park projects.
Because I was thinking of two other things, one of which we had Eagle Tower up in Door County that was taken down. And it's being replaced, but a lot of that wood they gave to local artisans to build things to pay for the new tower. And it was kind of a big thing. Now, I don't think for us local artisans, I don't think that'd be useful, but what if, we also, when we had it taken down, depending upon, what we had, what if you had the ability to mulch it right there? What if you had the ability to take pieces that were there and break it down into firewood right there? So people could see the whole process of, okay, yeah, we're still getting use out of this tree. We're going to take it to mulch and that sort of thing, turn it into, a whole learning experience, and then say, we're going to plant a new tree. Maybe, you give away some firewood too. Might have some people come in, just say, hey, free firewood, free rick of firewood.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that would be fine. I don't know who would process the firewood, but it's not a bad idea.
I put some that I had put in my drive on Facebook Marketplace, and it was gone in a couple days. And I have some more on the PD side of the fence. I have some logs I need to pull out and wait for the rain to dry up a little bit. And so I think that's going to be successful. I was concerned I was going to have to haul it to the dump, borrow a friend's truck and fuss with all that and worry with their time frame, the hours they're open. But that was great. And they were cut odd chunks and everything. So I thought people wouldn't like it, but I think people with wood burners and stuff came and got it, even though it was spruce.
Yeah,
So,
that's great. That's great.
yeah.
I mean, it gives an opportunity for people to be there and to see that, you know, the usefulness of it beyond the lifespan, I would say. But it gives them a
Yeah, I
reason
mean,
to be there.
I think it's fine. I mean, if someone wants to take the lead and organize it, that's great. And you know, if people are willing to process firewood, that's fine. I think it's a great idea. It's just a matter of kind of getting all the legwork together to make it happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll make a couple calls, see what I can figure out. I mean, like I said, these are just pie in the sky ideas, but we'll see. We'll see if anything can come of it.
No, that's great, and that's kind of where we're at right now. Is sort of in that brainstorming mode. So I'd say bring it on. I mean, it's good to think about, and you know, like I said, I just hate to forego. I mean, I don't know. I hate to forego those community events, but I really don't know how to do it in an impactful way that is, you know, within the COVID guidelines.
Why can't you record them, video them, and post them, and then you can share them with groups that would want to see them?
So what
I
would
mean,
you
in
be
terms
recording?
of the education piece.
Sure. I mean, there's no problem with that.
I mean, I think it's there, so if you wanted to share it with, you know, various groups who are working with kids or people, you know, neighborhood associations want to see something, you know, if you videotape it and then post it and say, you know, this is why we're taking this tree down because it has this disease, you can see the impact. This is why we're planting this tree, you know, for these reasons, and, you know, it's being replaced in this way, you know, for these reasons, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, it's something that people can go to later and reference. It's not the same interpersonally, but educationally, it can be there. And it's not like there's 1,000 people that show up in person. So, I mean, if you get, you know, 100 people viewing it, that would be good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that would just take the legwork to set up to get the videos made and distributed. It's a good idea. Yeah, I mean, so I would say if folks can, you know, continue to kind of think on this, I would really appreciate it. Because this is, you know, this group's big push is Arbor Day, Earth Day activities, and I don't want to just, you know, fold like we ended up having to do last year and then doing one that was pretty anticlimactical. And last year, to our credit, we thought that we could do it in September. We thought, well, you know, we'll just forego April, and by the time September rolls around, we'll be back in business. We didn't realize, or at least I didn't realize, that we'd still be in this situation now. And in fact, our proclamation is going through the council on the 22nd. So I don't know. At any rate, so I guess I just put it out there just to kind of, so we can get these kind of good ideas rolling, and it does take a lot of legwork to make this happen, and just so we have time to, you know, get all that in place.
Linda, you're muted.
Oh,
Linda, you're muted.
am I muted now?
Linda was.
I was.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I had one other idea, just thinking about, I mean, because there's always several events around Arbor Day and Earth Day. So I guess I was just thinking about the participation part, because part of the goal is that people plant more trees, that they actually plant more trees themselves. So I was just thinking about a baby shower that I took part in, and there was an app, And again, so I don't know how, so there was an app, and one of the things, because we couldn't get together in one place, is that everybody recorded a message. So the app is really simple to record the message, video recorded. So
Nice.
I'm just thinking about if there was something like that we could use, wondering about an invitation for people to plant trees, plant a tree, and send in a video of planting the tree, and people can look at it all in one place. And that would be one way of encouraging people to actually plant trees and then share the experience. Not necessarily in place of what has been discussed, but just another idea on the Arbor Day, Earth Day theme. And
That sounds great.
and then, I mean, you've already had outreach with some of the scout troops, so maybe they would actually be willing to plan something like that with their members, so that we know we would have at least some, this number of people doing it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I like that.
That's, yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you think that you could maybe email me the name of that app?
Yes.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yep. Yep. And it may be just for baby showers, I don't know. But somebody must know of an app that we could use. I mean, I would think somebody, maybe with the city would know too, I don't know. But yes, I will email you the one that we used.
No, that's awesome. That's a great idea. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
But I mean, good ideas all around, really. It's just, this is the whole reason I put this on the agenda, because I knew you guys would come up with some good ideas, and I'm just like, I don't know. I didn't have any really great brainstorms on what we can do. I just knew we kind of needed to start thinking about it and getting it in motion well ahead of time, because I was pretty certain we weren't probably going to be able to do our normal stuff.
Right.
But in speaking of normal stuff, is anyone would anyone like to go to the council meeting on the 22nd and accept the proclamation? It's just our typical Earth Day, Arbor Day proclamation, and we moved it to September because we thought, oh, we'll be planting trees, we'll be doing all these community tree plantings in September instead of in April, but it's obviously not going to be the case, but we do do the proclamation for our Tree City application, so I, didn't want to not do it. I don't know if anyone's willing to go to council on that meeting to receive it or not. You can just email me if you are, and if not, me or Scott will go and get it. But it's kind of nice to have someone there to receive it once the mayor signs it.
Can I send my cutout? No, never mind. Sorry.
It's hilarious. Your silhouette.
My cutout first. Sorry. Weird times. They're weird times. We have to be creative.
It is weird. You're right, Linda. It is. Okay.
I really have
all right.
one.
But and if no one's available, I think it's not a problem not to have it. We just typically have someone there. I think Jeremy did it last year, if I'm not mistaken, or I can't remember. But if we don't, we don't. It's not the end of the world. And you're right, Linda. It is really strange times, and it's it is what it is. There's not much we can really do about it.
I can always be there too, but it's less fun if it's the alder, because I'm going to be there anyway. So yeah, if someone else wants to come, that would be great.
Okay. All right.
We're
Perfect.
glad you're there, Gabriella.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I guess, unless someone has something else to talk about with Earth Day, Arbor Day, maybe we should move on and just, if people can just keep thinking about it at least. And I appreciate you guys entertaining the thoughts so early. It's just that I kind of had I don't know, not really a panic attack, but I just was kind of like, oh my, we're going to be in the same situation in March. Just with, thinking about school and just knowing school is going to probably be open. I'm like, you know what, we're just not, we're not going to be back to normal anytime soon. It's pretty clear. So I appreciate everyone being willing to entertain thinking about next spring. At any rate, So should we move on to report from departments, or from, I guess, just from me, report from department?
Sure.
Okay. So basically, it's just been a really busy summer. A lot of people home, a lot of people noticing trees, which is great. A lot of people being interested in their neighbor's tree, and which sometimes can get to be a little bit tough, but just a lot of questions about ash trees, a lot of questions about, current trees not doing great, a lot of questions about park stuff, a lot of questions about stormwater facilities and trees that are or were not in stormwater facilities, et cetera, and then just a ton of work in new developments. So it's just been really, really busy. And then with COVID, everything's been disjointed. We did get the spring planting done, but so we did the bulk of it in April, and then we just finished the last part of it last week. The last, I think it was 26 trees or whatever, partly because terraces weren't ready, and partly because of trees not being dug in April and having to wait, and then having concerns with supply chain, having concerns with labor, So we finally got the last of it done. I think it was just last week or the week before. So that was kind of a stressful situation, just because and then it was really hot and dry, et cetera. So it just wasn't, it wasn't a great tree planting year because the shutdown happened when trees were supposed to be getting dug, and just caused a lot of supply chain issues. But we got around it. We got everything planted, which is great. I'm looking to do a fall planting here probably in the next couple of weeks, depending on what's available. So kind of trying to figure out, because I want good stock. So I'm just trying to figure out what is going to serve us in the long run. So anyway, long story longer, it's just been really busy in kind of an odd way. And just a lot of calls from residents, which is great, but just takes a lot of time. And then just a lot of work in getting new developments in shape, and also just trying to get everything accomplished. So anyway, long story longer. And moving on to announcements, it sounds like I should probably talk to Craig about our next meeting. It is scheduled for, I believe it's October 8th. But if it falls on his class time, I mean, how do people think about moving it to accommodate him, especially if we're going to be talking about tree preservation ordinance?
That's fine with me.
Okay. Does anyone else potentially have an issue with that?
To which date were you thinking of moving it?
I have no idea, because I don't know what his class schedule is. And maybe he's available on that day. I don't really know. It just seems like if we're going to talk about tree preservation ordinance in a meaningful way, we should probably have the person heading it up, be able to make it.
Could you ask Craig to give a couple of dates and times that would work for him, and then we could send it out to the committee and we can all vote.
Kind of weigh in.
Do a doodle poll or something and vote on which one works for everyone.
Right. Do you still prefer a 4:00 time, Anna, with the?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. Everything's all up in the air. It doesn't really matter anymore. I don't know. Yeah, I can probably make almost anything work at this point. So, yeah.
Yeah. How about the rest of you? Are you working during the day out of your house? Or?
I am.
Okay, yeah. So
I work at home, yeah. I could make time for that, yes.
Right. So
okay.
Does that 4 o'clock time still work best for you, Terrell?
What?
Does that 4 o'clock time still need to be 4 o'clock for you?
Yeah, it's okay. I don't have meetings at that time of day, so if I take off a little early, it's all right.
Yeah. I'm retired, so I'm really very flexible.
Okay.
Most days.
Well, I'll touch base with Craig and just, like Gabriella said, see what kind of are some thoughts, dates he's available, and we'll send him out and see if we can, kind of settle on a date and kind of go from there. Yeah, and maybe he is available on that time. I don't know that he's not, but I just feel like if we can be flexible and accommodate him, we might as well, considering he's the one that's got the knowledge and expertise on the tree preservation stuff.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of is. Mm-hmm. So anyway. All right. Does anyone else have any other announcements?
Nope.
Okay.
Are we ready to adjourn?
I guess so.
It's always about an hour and a half, so it seems like we've struck that time again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any motions to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, any seconds?
Seconded.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alrighty.
Nice to meet everybody. Nice to see you.